Now, just as my slide reads, priority ranking allows your participants to rank items based on importance. Let's say you're running a presentation and you come upon a question and you want your students to go ahead and rank this question. You want them to go ahead and rank the answer choices based on some type of importance. So this would be the priority ranking. So they're answering a question multiple times, and each subsequent answer choice is worth a little bit less than their previous. Now, the priority ranking slide is something you're actually going to build from scratch within the Insert Slide tab. So if I go to Insert Slide, come down to the fourth option from the bottom, this is where I'm going to find priority ranking. Now, when I click on the priority ranking, I immediately have a menu that pops up which asks me how many responses I want to allow per participant. Now, I can have up to 10. Well, they don't recommend that you go any higher than probably 4. 5 is even pushing it. Because when you run this live in a presentation and the students start ranking things, my experience is that the students are going to forget what they put for number 2 and number 3 by the time they get to number 4 and number 5. And so this can get kind of confusing if they're not having some way of tracking what they've already answered. So my recommendation is 3, exactly what the default is set to. So now that we're set to 3, we're going to press OK. This is going to build it right into the presentation. Now notice, this looks like any other question and answer slide. But this one's different because I went to priority ranking to put it in. In my case, the students will be able to answer this question 3 times. And each one of those answer choices will be worth a little bit less than their previous. Now, I've already built a priority ranking slide in advance. My slide reads, choose your favorite vacation spot, pick your top 3 in order. Also, another very important thing that I want to note. It's important to go ahead and either verbally tell your students how this slide works in terms that the order does matter, and also you're allowed to pick more than one, or you're going to go ahead and put it in the text within the slide. My recommendation is you verbally tell them that, hey, you're going to pick 3, and it's not going to be a random selection. You're going to pick your most important first, and then your third important, number 3. Important to let them know how the slide works, because otherwise you're going to get invalid information. Now what I'd like to do is go ahead and run this on the simulated mode, take a look at the outcome. Okay, so of course when we arrive in this slide, the students are going to answer it 3 times. Now I do want you guys to recognize how in the upper right hand corner it reads 50 responses. That means there's 50 students in this simulated class. But when I shut down my polling and I change this over to whole numbers, Costa Maya seems to be the grand winner here with 90. And I have Jamaica with 20, Aruba 40, Barcelona 50. Paris has just got a horrible color right there, so who knows what that has. But obviously, though, you can see it's way more than 50. But keep in mind, though, this is going to take those different weights and add them together. So this is a perfect time to talk about how it's weighting these questions. The first response that a student would give is worth 10 points. The second response is worth 9. The third response was worth 8. And they're going to have all the way down to just 1 single point if I allow them to answer this question 10 times. Now, of course, we can see that all my numbers are in powers of 10. The only reason it's popping up like that is because I am on simulated data. But if I have a live audience in front of me, it might read something as 21, 43, 57, 65, so on and so forth. I'm probably not going to have all these whole numbers in powers of 10. So once again, the weighting is separated by 10, 9, 8 all the way down to 1, and it's just adding all those whole numbers together to give us the final results. Now these weights can be adjusted within your turning point settings, which I will show you. But before we go into the settings to talk about adjusting those weights, are there any questions ahead of time in terms of just setting this up and facilitating this during the presentation?
No.
Okay. Now, of course, if we are going to go ahead and change the weights, these are something that we would need to do before we ever run the presentation. Okay, so once we have the priority ranking slide in there, if I come to Tools, down to Settings, you're going to notice on the left-hand side how it's listing every single one of my turning point slides that are in the presentation. Now, slide number 13 was a priority ranking one, so I'm going to left-click on it, which will highlight it. And now using the menu on the right-hand side, I'm going to scroll down until I come to my third category, which is going to read priority ranking. Now remember, by default, the first response is worth 10 points, and the last response, if it's 10, is worth 1 point. But in my case, my students can only have 3 responses. But what if I wanted that second response to be worth only half as much as the first? Well, I can go ahead and click on the 9 and change it to 5. If I want that third response to be worth a little bit less than the second, then maybe I want to go ahead and put it at 2. Okay, so this is an opportunity where we can go ahead and adjust those weights so we do have a little bit more discrepancy between the first, second, and third response, because 10, 9, 8 is pretty close together, and you may not be getting the type of outcome that you may be desiring because they are so close together. But when you go ahead and you change the weights ahead of time, you're going to get a little bit more distance between these, which will give you greater discrepancy, so maybe you'll get the results that you possibly could be looking for there. Now, do keep in mind this is something you would do ahead of time. You would not do it after you run the slide as I showed you. Any questions in terms of adjusting these weights if you want to?